Wow, you're here. How long have we been planning this?
I don't know. What, like Brooklyn, you were part of this too. I think a year. It's kind of been.
We've been dating for a year.
We're like, we want to talk about dating with you guys. Let's do this.
Kate and I are Instagram friends. We finally met for the first time in the back, so it's a big night for us.
It's a really big night for us, bro. Friends in real life now.
I thought you said Kate and I, and I'm like, excuse me.
Sorry. They're real life friends.
Kate and Kate. That's a little confusing.
Yeah, that's good. No, they're real life friends. So you guys started a podcast because you saw a problem, right? I want to hear about that. You started a podcast in 2018 about dating because Christian dating is just all throughout the Bible. Have you read it?
It's on every page.
There's literally there's nothing in there. So because our parents aren't picking our husbands and wives, there was a problem to solve. So tell me the genesis. Like help us catch up to where you guys have been and on your journey.
So I started it by myself, single, before I ever knew this guy in 2018. And honestly, guys, I did not want to do this because I was single, trying to date, and my dating history was kind of wacko. Like it was a lot. I dated a lot of the wrong types of people. I was in a lot of really bad relationships and abusive relationships, and I really lost my identity in dating until early in my 20s. God really rescued me out of this horrible abusive relationship, and I went on this journey of healing and finding out who is Kate outside of men, who is Kate outside of dating and performance. And so I went on a journey to kind of basically find out who I was, who God said that I was, and then also to eventually figure out how to date better than I had been dating. And so I researched every sermon, every dating book. There's like 5. No, I'm just kidding. And I was like, why are there not more resources for Christian singles? And so eventually that just started God, I feel like put a fire in my heart for Christian singles. 2018 comes around, or 2017, I got broken up with. It was horrible. I thought I was going to marry this guy. Obviously didn't. And it was in the wake of that rejection, I felt like the Lord was leading me to start Heart of Dating. And I was like, no, thank you. We're not fans of Taylor Swift in this room, okay? But I didn't want to be the Taylor Swift of Christian dating, okay? I didn't want to be the girl that just is up there talking about dating and, like referencing guys I had dated, and now every guy that is dating me is afraid that I'm going to talk about them publicly. Just like Taylor Swift writes in her songs. Okay, anyway. So
Demonic.
I, in 2018, started this podcast. I really felt like the Lord was calling me to do it. And it just started spreading, and I started gaining this passion. And so it's a podcast. Then in 2021, I wrote a book, and that's the year I met JJ. And no, I did not look at him and say, hey, if you want to date me, you have to be a part of this. Is that what I did, JJ?
No, she didn't. But the gun underneath the table definitely was poking
We were in
me,
California. They don't
sure.
allow this.
Yeah, it was a knife. Yeah, sorry. No, we got married about 3 years ago, and I just I knew from the time I was 12 years old that I was going to be a Christian dating coach and podcaster. It was also
every young man's dream.
Exactly, it's every guy's dream. So. No, I love it. I love serving men specifically. I just have such a burden and passion for reaching single men, especially as a single guy who needed so much help, so much encouragement, to be shown what a real man was. So that's where I like to be. And then together we like to talk about this weird thing called Christian dating, man. It gets a little weird out there. And so we just like help de-weirdify it, make it a little bit more casual and fun. And try
clear.
And
a lot of confusion out there. I'll just say last thing, that our stories are very opposite. So I had dated a lot of different people, a lot of different situations in my past, and I was JJ's first real relationship. So we could not come from two different dating backgrounds.
I was a missionary kid, and I wasn't really allowed to date. I wasn't homeschooled, but I was close. It nicked me. I was close. But I didn't really date or talk to girls. And then, of course, I went out and dated for the first time thinking I knew what I was doing, and I had no idea what I was doing. And so it didn't go very well. So I kind of stumbled my way through dating and got very blessed to meet Kate. And we met in COVID on a Zoom call, dated long distance from Seattle to California. I moved down to date her, pursue her. We got engaged a year later. And now 2 years later, we're married, have a baby, and another one on the way. 3 years. Yeah, there we go. So
that's amazing. Wow, thanks for that's so good. That's the classic Hallmark love story, right?
Yeah,
Filmed in
super
Franklin.
classic.
Meeting in COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, we met on
He
a Zoom
actually was
call.
on a date with a different girl on the Zoom call, which we could have done tonight. That would have been
We
fun.
should. Maybe
he
we'll
was,
do it at
He
the
was a
end.
blind date with a different girl. I was the speaker, and so yeah. You want to tell them?
Yeah,
That's how
and
it
we met
happened.
we met on the pre-call, and I was enamored with Kate, and she didn't even notice me. And then I'm like, I go on the blind date, and so I'm like, maybe she's watching. You know, I still was focused on my date, but I was a little distracted. And I know, but I was like, you know, maybe she's watching me, maybe she's not. We had a great date. She was a great sister in Christ. But it was a Galentine's conference. So after our blind date, they were like, hey, if the guys want to stick around and watch, you're more than welcome to. I'm like, well, that's kind of weird to be the only guy here. So I like turned my camera off, changed my name to Emily, you know, so I could watch her because they didn't want to be like the only guy on this call.
Transition.
Is this real?
Yeah. But I'll be honest, like, I really just was super attracted to Kate, but I was at a place in my dating journey where I didn't want to just ask out women because I just thought they were hot. Like, I just did not enjoy it. It didn't go well. It's just kind of rolling the dice. I really wanted to know where their walk was with Christ before I asked them out on a date. And once I saw her testimony and who she was in Christ and her journey and story from all the pain and heartbreak and abuse that she went through, I mean, it was like a very lighthearted topic, right? It was just like self-hatred, abuse, and your healing story.
Exactly.
Right. But once I saw that and how real her relationship with Jesus was, that's what I was attracted to. I couldn't help but ask her out. So I hit up the conference organizers. I had them, you know, send a birdie, get her interest, and to my surprise, she said no, basically, right?
Yes, here's why. To give you, I hope you guys are learning just through the story itself. We'll get into questions, but we have an age gap, so I'm 6 years older than JJ. I'd never dated a guy at that time younger than me, let alone like 6 years younger. For me, I was dating older. You know, there's a whole thing that girls believe that, you know, guys' brains don't mature till a certain age, and so you
It's true.
really like just look for guys that are older because you're like, they're more mature and they'll be at my level. So when he was 6 years younger, I was like, whoa, this is crazy. And, okay, I need the ladies in the room to understand this. He had blue hair, okay?
You're kidding.
Blue hair.
No,
Yeah.
no. It was platinum blonde, then it was blue.
Well, it was platinum, it dyed blue.
Yeah. It
Yes.
was sick.
And
It was
black
sick.
Earrings,
It was
black
cool.
earrings.
It was sick.
It was really cool.
It reminds me of that.
All my guy friends liked it.
Ain't nothing
The
wrong with a
dudes-
platinum blonde.
That was a solidarity scream right
It
there.
was definitely.
Live your life,
Don't
man.
be chanting, bring it back. Sometimes people do that. I'm like, no, guys, don't do it. He will bring it back.
I will. But so you checked out my Instagram.
I did lightly stalk him, and I was like, this guy's Instagram is very interesting. It just was, every photo was a different hairstyle. I mean, different look in every photo. He had a big bushy beard. He had like a dyed black mustache. He had like a, what was your Jack Sparrow phase of like a,
It wasn't a phase. It was a one-time thing.
okay,
All right,
well, you were wearing eyeliner, and I was
no,
like,
it was
this
not.
is a lot of things
I was
happening
not.
here.
Okay, no. I was not wearing eyeliner. It was like Halloween or something. Okay, or sorry, a Harvest Fest. Okay.
I just was like, this guy's all over the place. But what I did like, because he clearly didn't care, what I liked was that he didn't care what people thought about him. And I appreciated that. And I was in a season for myself of dating the unexpected. And so I was like, why not just go on one date? No, I might not find blue hair attractive, and this is kind of a weird look, but one date, one FaceTime date, you know, because he was in Seattle. And
So you're telling me there's a chance?
That's it.
Yeah. So yeah, we went from there.
That's awesome. Did you have blue hair on the first date?
I think it was blonde at that point. Like
There
the
you
blue
go.
Faded out, but I wore a hat. I wasn't.
no, it was
yeah,
still
I wore
blue,
a
but
hat.
when we first met in person 1 month later, it was platinum. The blue had faded.
Yeah.
It
Praise
was
God.
still not the
Yeah,
best
praise
look
God.
on you,
Yeah.
you know, but
No, I've come a long way since then. Okay, right? All my
Yes.
clothes and hair dye started disappearing randomly. You know, it just couldn't.
you had a mullet like 6 months ago.
That's
still,
true.
so-
Yeah, it was also sick. Where are my guys?
Also
over here?
sick. Yeah. There we go. We've got a strong male contingency in here. The boys stick together. So that's great. So you've had a pretty complicated, complex, interesting journey to where you're at today. Fair?
Yes.
Okay.
sure.
For sure.
unpack Christian dating for us. Like, give us a macro level. Just unpack it for us. Like, imagine that no one knows, what do you do, how do you do it, just so we can get everyone on the same page.
I love that. Do you want to start?
Big
Okay,
question
there's
there.
so much to say. My Rolodex is just thinking. And the first thing I'll say is this. This is one of my favorite things to teach. So Christian dating is weird because we all have a different meaning for the word dating, okay? You and you and you and you have a different way of thinking about dating. And how we have defined dating is basically the influences in our childhood, what our parents told us, if we went to church or not, the Bible teachers we listened to, the cultural things we consumed growing up or currently in our current era, the friends we have now. All of those things, you mix it in a blender, and you have now created your own dating playbook for this is how it should go. This is what I expect. This is what a guy should do. This is what the girl should do. This is the expectation. And I will guarantee 99.9% positive that the person across from you on a date has a different playbook, okay? It might be somewhat similar. There might be some overlap, but there's going to be different pages in there, such as, texting right after the first date. Do you do that, or do you wait a day? Because that's the cool thing to do. You don't want to look too desperate, right? Everyone has a different playbook for how to date. And so we kind of just have to get on the same page. What does dating mean? How do we look at dating all collectively and get on the same page about it? And so the first thing is the word dating is confusing because it's all encompassing. You may have gone on one date with a person, or you may have been dating them for 6 months, and you say the word I'm dating someone, and it means the same thing. I went on one date, or I'm dating them for 6 months. So I think that's way too broad. I like to break it down. Instead of it being single, dating, engaged, married, we're gonna add in a fifth stage, and we're gonna say it's single, dating, relationship, engaged, married. So what happens if you break dating to the phase before relationship, it's that time when you are building a friendship connection. Yes, you're going on dates, but you're really trying to see, like, hey, do I even like this person? I'm not trying to think about, is this my husband? Is this my wife? I'm like, do I like this person? Do I want to spend time with them? Do we have some similar values? And I'm trying to figure out if I just want to be in a relationship. The relationship is to then figure out if I want to get engaged to marry that person. So if we define dating as that time of building friendship in an intentional way to see if you have similar values and if you simply enjoy that person, it can take a lot of pressure off that dating phase. Because suddenly going to a coffee isn't a marriage proposal. It's not, is he the one? Is she the one? It's, do I like them enough to see them one more time? That's a question you're asking at the end of a first date. Do I know enough to see them just one more time? Not for a 6-hour date, FYI. For another 90 minutes, 60 minutes. That's all you need to know. Don't need to have every question answered. Don't need to have an interview list of all these things I need to figure out to go on one more date. We can just take a breather, you guys, and we can go on a date and then one more date. And then I say the dating phase should be about 60 to 90 days of getting to know someone, getting to know some of their friends by the end of that process, not the second date, all right? And then at the end of that 60 to 90 days, you're saying, okay, this is the time. Do I know enough to be in a relationship, okay? And that's when, yes, have a few people speak into that. It's really important. But then the relationship, then you're asking even bigger questions. Then you're really analyzing on a deeper level. That's when maybe you become IG official. Not in that like first 2-3 weeks of dating, okay?
Wait, so no soft launch? in
No
the
soft
first
launch.
Soft launch.
You
What if
know,
it's just their
it's
what
always
if
on
it's
the
just their
stories where
hand?
it's just like a hand.
Yeah.
Or they're, and I'm
That's-
just like,
they can't do
guys,
that?
stop.
But
Just
they don't know who, it's anonymous.
But everyone's now texting you, asking,
I
and
know,
trying to
that's the
figure it
point.
out.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
exciting, yeah.
So that's just my stages of dating breakdown. What would you add, JJ?
No, I think that's great. I think the only thing I would add about the Christian dating is because I love this, we want to make it so intentional, it also raises the stakes. It makes it just, there's just so much pressure. It's amazing. Like, we got to find a way to de-escalate the pressure.
That's
make
good.
this a lot more just
Yeah.
about connecting. If I could rename dating to just, based off that, to just call it something else, I would just call it friendshipping. Like, can you friendship with someone for 3 months, build that friendship with, and there's just like this little romantic twist or sprinkle
People are
into it.
realizing they're doing that right now.
Yeah, I know. And that's a good thing. I mean, what's the difference though? If you're hanging out with, okay, I'll take my guys. If you're hanging out with a girl one-on-one right now, and you're just hanging out, having fun, connecting, going on adventures together, but you're not dating, well, what's the difference? Like, there's no difference. And I would rather you show up like that, connecting, having fun, going on adventures, being yourself, and then the second we put on dating, we tense up and we kind of freak out and we stop acting like ourselves, and you start kind of presenting some version of yourself that you hope they think they might like. And so I would just say, man, call it friendshipping, do it for 90 days, don't make out, like just really focus on having a great time. I know, some of you
gotta
it's
throw
like
that one in.
hard.
That's
I
good,
had
that's
to.
good.
Again, just make it just friendship oriented, and you might just be shocked at how much you really enjoy that person at the end of 3 months.
That's so good. Yeah. So we're gonna trademark friendshipping. We'll put a book out later.
We're friendshipping.
Yeah, friendshipping. It is good when you think about taking the pressure off, because if you overwater a plant, it dies, right? And so if you pull the pressure off, then you'd be surprised at the end of 90 days what could happen, what could bloom. And you get to the end, you're like, we're not just friends anymore, you know? And then I love this because you hear the term date to marry. That's a big term, right? Yeah, you date to marry. And that's a lot of pressure because that's a huge jump. We just had a coffee at Honest, and now you say, we'll go from that to married. That's the rest of our life together. That's a wild jump. And so it's, if you
guys out here are sweating, okay? 'Cause
Yeah.
it's like the pressure is
well,
like
God
so
told
big.
me, you know. But if you add another stage in, that's just so helpful to just decompress it and just say, look, we're just dating to progress. We're pursuing each other to see what happens.
Yeah, Kate says the goal is to go from A to B, not A to Z.
I love
Okay.
that.
A to B, then B to C, then C to D. Like, it's one date at a time, guys. It's not it's even on the third date. You're not thinking about Z yet, okay? Don't be thinking about the marriage yet. It's A to B, B to C, okay? C to D. We all know the alphabet.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
It's great.
Yeah.
So within that, what are some ways that, men can lead with clarity in that season as they see that there might be something there, but they're like, I don't want to come across too much, but you're also in that. What are some ways that some tips you have for people in that kind of the in-between season?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, number one, clarity is kindness. That's a really helpful phrase if you haven't heard that one before. And number two, it's okay to not know if you want to marry the girl up front, okay? That's okay. I think what I do want you to know is, would you like to see them again? All right, that's all you need to know. And if I'm sitting here after a third date, I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to marry this girl, of course I'm going to freak out. Of course I'm probably going to avoid having the DTR conversation. Of course I'm probably not going to, be clear because I don't know. And I think, like, culture and, like, we kind of scream at guys, like, you should know, like, you should know. I'm like, it's okay to not know if you're going to marry them. But I think what you should know after the date is, do I want to see them again? Like, did I enjoy my time with them? Could I see myself being friends with her? Am I attracted to her? Okay, if I have that, I think that's good enough to go back and see her again, especially if she's, like, local. She's someone, like, in my community. Like, I think that's where long distance, I'm a big fan of long distance, but that's a little bit harder. The thing I do love about long distance is I played quarterback, and so I was not a dual threat quarterback. Let me just put it that way, okay? I like to throw the ball, and I don't like to run the ball. But every now and then, they would call something called a zone read, which is they don't block one guy in the line and everyone else gets blocked. And I have the football, and I can either hand it to the running back, and depending on what the defensive end does, I can hand it off, or I can keep it and run it myself, which I really didn't prefer to do. Now, we had one rule, which is this. If it's gray, give it away. Meaning, if he kind of steps up and he doesn't really commit to the running back and it's not really clear for me to take the ball and run with it, then I'm just going to go ahead and give it away. And I think that's really helpful for guys. Like, if it's just kind of gray for you and it's just not really working out and you're not that attracted to her, I think it's helpful at that time to just kind of give it away. Like, that is more helpful than not. But if you are attracted to her, you feel like you're in a good place and she's like a good friend, like you could see yourself being friends with her, then go for it. Because there's no substitute. I would just say this. There's no substitute for a guy being sure about moving forward. And so, ladies, if you're on the other end of a guy who's very unsure and he's unsure for days, weeks, and months, do yourself a favor and just pull out. Like
That's wisdom.
Yeah, I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Sure. If he doesn't have, the gumption to make that decision, do yourself a favor and make it for him and walk away.
Man, that's a really good piece of advice. We've seen that. Some of you have experienced that. Yeah, if he's not sure, just let him go. And what you answered my question, which was going to be, at 90 days, 60, 90 days, whatever it is. But if you still want to see them, but you're just not sure about moving into that relationship phase, what do you do then?
Yeah, I would say, also I just want to add, call it a date. I want to avoid friendationships in the room, which is like a friendship that's like a relationship, but like there's no exchange of I like you and I actually have feelings for you and I want to actually take you on a date. So just to say that as well, please do call it a date, because I think we need to depressurize, right, that word, which is what we all just did in this room collectively. So now if anyone in this room asks each other out on a date, it's depressurized, right? Now, if we go out there and other people, like, it's not always the same way. However, that's what we're trying to do, and we're trying to depressurize it. So call it a date, make it clear. To your point, it's okay if it takes a little longer than 60, 90 days. Now, my question, though, for you is, what do you still need to know? What do you need to figure out? Some people are just not asking themselves that question. I coached a girl recently, and she was in a relationship she's been in a relationship with a guy for 6 months. And we say around 6 months is when, like, okay, I'm feeling like, am I moving towards marriage in a relationship, okay? And so if the guy at 6 months still doesn't know, he's just like, I don't know yet if I want to marry you. That's okay. JJ did that to me, actually. Kind of freaked out, but it's fine. And so my question to him, which I would ask even in the transition from dating to relationship, is, if you don't know, that's okay. What do you still need to know? And I would ask that as the girl to the guy, but I think you, as the girl or the guy who's not sure, need to ask yourself, well, what do I need to know? What questions do I need to ask? What things am I unclear about? Like, a lot of times confusion can come from anxiety, and a lot of us experience anxiety, and it's just all these swirling thoughts and freak out moments, and it's like we need to take a pen to a journal to the Lord and be like, what is it really that I'm concerned about here? What's my fears? What am I unsure about? What's really happening? And sometimes as you process that just with the Lord or with a trusted counselor, which I'm about, you realize, oh, wait, I'm just freaking out for no reason. I'm afraid of commitment. I'm afraid of this. Or you realize, you know what? I'm not really being honest with myself about where their faith is. And that's freaking me out. That's what's happening. So maybe I have to ask a few more questions there. Maybe I have to see them in some different environments, bring them to a worship night, like really, really just like see them. Because you are evaluating, guys. You are evaluating. You need to see them in different environments. Or I just realize, hey, I've done those things, and we aren't going to be 1 + 1 = 3. We're not going to be greater for the kingdom together than we would be apart. And I just think they're really attractive, but at the end of the day, spiritually, values, it's really, truly not there. And so ask yourself, what do I still need to know?
Okay, so when people, we hear this term, like, what if we're unequally yoked, right? And that's kind of what you're talking about here. Yeah. When are you guys, when are they disconnecting at that? I think this is a little more complex than just going, you worship like I do, or you've read the Bible as much as I have, or you pray like I do. I think it's a little more complex because some people, they catch fire and then they burst out and they grow way faster than a normal Christian. So how do you make that judgment? And where do you make that judgment? If you have an attraction, they're pursuing each other, you're in that first, let's say 6 months, they haven't gone to a relationship yet, or they maybe even have, but they're unequally yoked.
I think we just did a podcast with Addison and Julie Bevere, so I'm going to pull from a question that Addison shared on that podcast. I thought it was so good. He said, ask yourself these 2 questions. Can I see myself as a man or a woman laying my life down for this person? Can I see myself laying my life down for this person? Second question, can I see them laying their life down for God? Those are the 2 best questions to ask. And if those are question marks, that's your answer. You
That's
know what
so
I mean?
good.
Like, because I'm less concerned with how long they have been a Christian. I'm more concerned on is their relationship with the Lord real? Is their trajectory this? You know, is it going up? Because you got a lot of Christians out here, their trajectory sometimes is going down because they're comfortable or it's just stagnant, right? And so it's more about, is their trajectory going up, and answering those two questions solidly. And again, if you don't know, that's where you have to ask more questions. That's where you have to put them in more situations. That's why you want to get them around a mentor, somebody who can help you assess where their level of faith is at as well.
So good. Has this been helpful, guys? This is pretty good, right? I mean, it's like you do it for a living.
No, not at all.
No, it's always a hobby, right? But okay, we're going to transition now so we put out on Instagram this week and last week for input from our people, and we got a number of questions back in. So we're going to rapid fire these, and then we're going to go into a really fun portion after that with the audience. Q&A, as juicy as you want. You go for it. You know, ask the funny question because it'll just be better for us. I'm trying to be amused tonight, so please ask it. But here, let's start with this. For some people in a season of singleness, a lot of 20-year-olds and up are still pursuing, you know, who they're going to marry. What's the advice to those people they're trying to get to know themselves? They're trying to figure out what they need healing from, right? Like, we have childhoods, we have things we've been through. What's your advice for someone in that season, maybe what's some things they could do before they start pursuing someone else?
Well, do you guys want to start off with this one?
You go ahead. Honestly, I was like zoning out. I'm not gonna lie. I was totally like zoning out.
Yeah, so
locked
like,
in.
you go ahead.
So
Isla was looking at all these questions that we have to ask you. So can you say the question?
So
one more
Kait
time?
and Amber are
That's the honest truth.
going to be getting married in 10 days.
10 days.
Next Friday.
Which is so incredible, and they've just lived out this journey we're talking about, which is and very intentionally. And I've had the pleasure of sitting front seat with you and just kind of watching you guys grow, and it's been a beautiful process. But my question is, before Amber, right? In that season of singleness, things are like, I'm not settling. I'm serious about Jesus. What were you looking at? Things I needed to take care of, things I needed to grow through. I needed to get healing, like, you know, counseling. I needed to adapt and overcome. What were you doing to prepare for marriage?
Yeah, that's such a good question. Well, you were on a Zoom call in 2020. I was in my bedroom writing a song for my future wife.
Dang.
Come
This
on.
is not a plug for my music, but
Flex.
I wrote a song called Dear Future Wife in 2020, and it was a song for you, which is so special. I didn't even know
Still
at the
blows my
time.
mind.
But I was really in this season when I first moved to Nashville, just like, how can I be the best man that I can be for my future wife? And 2020 was a really pivotal spot for me. I went back home to South Dakota, and I just examined my heart. And I think, you know, being raised in a Christian family, I always put like my future wife on this pedestal, you know. And in some ways, probably worship being in a relationship and being in marriage. And I feel like in that season in 2020, God was stripping me from so many things. And I began to go to counseling every single month, began to work through things, started dating a girl, went through a crazy relationship, and God allowed me to work through some of that trauma and that healing, and got to the bottom of who do I want to marry, and what are the qualities that I want to see in my future wife. And so it was a huge part of my life.
Wow.
Yeah, and I would say that's bared so much fruit in our relationship, and it doesn't stop when you enter into a relationship. Kait still has monthly appointments set up with a counselor, and I'll hop on sometimes, and we'll work through things together. And so it's like you've done all this work to prepare, okay, and now the real work starts. Now you're in it with somebody else, so you take two people who have all this different backgrounds, these different expectations, and then you merge them together. And it's so sweet for me to listen to this advice because I think I'm a pretty practical thinker and logical about certain things. And so it's sweet to hear this dating advice because mine sometimes is just like, listen to the Spirit, be sensitive to the Spirit, hear the voice of God, walk with him, and seek first the kingdom. But that doesn't help everybody because there's real challenges that happen.
What about this
It's like,
specific
what am I
text?
supposed to do? What does the 60, 90 days even mean? And so I think listen to like rich time with the Lord. I always prayed before I ever met Kait. Kait was my first boyfriend, but I always prayed, God, keep me apart from somebody until we can do more together for the kingdom than we ever could apart, which I think Kait said that just a minute ago. And I've seen that happen because I think being so content and fully present where you are and what God has right in front of you and not striving for something that's not yours yet is what's going to bear the most fruit in your life. And so preparing for what God has right in front of you and not looking 5, 10 months down the road and saying, God, what's right here in front of me is what's going to prepare you the best, because then when you enter into that season, you're going to do the same thing. All right, how am I supposed to steward this season the best that's right in front of me?
Yeah, and one last thing to piggyback off that. I think when we look at our relationship and what God was teaching me in those 2020 through 2022 years was obedience. And I think that carried into our relationship of, if you're not obedient to the Lord when it's just you, it's a lot harder to be obedient with the Lord when it's you and another person, Like when God calls you to do something, act in obedience. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it, knowing that you're pleasing the Lord. And it's cool to even hear y'all share your story, because she broke up with me for a few weeks, 7 weeks, very similar to that. And we came back together, but it was obedience that is the final word. And so let that be encouragement for y'all too.
That's so good. Thanks for sharing that. And I think if you carry in a bunch of baggage to a relationship, you're going to create a bunch of baggage in a relationship, right? And the famous saying, "Hurt people hurt people." If you've got something that's broken, you're going to create that again. So God was letting you do the work before you stepped in, and some of you may feel like you're in a season where you're getting rejected or things are just not going well, and you're being refined, or God's like really challenging your own character, right? The way you actually live behind closed doors. Let it encourage you that he's actually preparing you for your future wife, that he's actually preparing you for your future husband. He's getting you ready so that you can, you got to think the enemy attacks marriages like he attacks nothing else. There's something about the created family order. The enemy hates families. That's why he twists gender. It's why he's the anti-creator, right? He takes what God has made male and female and he turns it inside out. He likes to take the nuclear family and turn it upside down. That's what he likes to do. So he wants to come for your marriage. That's why God said, what God's joined together, let no man separate. And so he actually is having a mercy on us to get us ready for marriage by poking those pieces of your heart that hurt and allowing you to get healing and there's wisdom in many counselors, like walking that through with people who have been there, who can help you navigate it. And then you come out on the other side, and then I have this question. How do you know when you're ready to step into a relationship?
First of all, there's no perfect time to be ready. And I do think, and JJ can speak to the men, but I think men especially put a lot of weight and pressure on themselves of like, I'm not ready. My career isn't perfect. This isn't perfect. I have to get this much finances. And, there's a reality that you're never perfectly ready, guys. And so, but there are some tips, okay? I'll give you some practical ones, because I love doing that. So if you have just gone through a major life transition, that's probably not the time to enter into a relationship. So I'm talking a brand new job, a big move to a new city. Some people I know will move to a new city and they get on the dating apps because they just want to meet people. And I'm like, okay, maybe there are other ways we can meet people than getting on a dating app right now, okay? So if any big major life transition, a second thing is if any big trauma has come up in your life, whether it's recent or whether you've been working with a counselor and something was just uncovered and you're really actively working through that. Now, I have a lot of past trauma in my history. And so for me, I had done a lot of work on that. before me and JJ had met, but that doesn't mean that when we met, nothing ever came up ever again, okay? This is just not the case. So you have to, I'm talking about it, you actively realize this trauma either recently happened, you know, you have a death in the family, you had something really, really traumatic happen, or something just came up that, you know, that you didn't realize was so traumatic for you and you're healing through it. This is a time to really take that moment to heal. I would also say if you're in a season actively really in the pits of depression, and I've been in those places, or just really struggling through something mentally, that's probably not the best season to just enter into dating, right? Okay, and so those would be two very good practical ways of like, hey, I'm not really ready. If those are happening, you are ready if you have a semblance of an idea of what you're looking for. Some people just go out there and like, I don't know, I just want a man of God. I just want a woman of God. And I'm like, okay, that's good-ish. What are your values? What has the Lord called you to? What do you know your kingdom purpose in any regards? You don't have to know it perfectly, but do you know any of your giftings and callings? Because marriage is about 1 + 1 = 3. So I can't do 1 + 1 = 3 if I don't even know what my part of the equation is. Like, what has the Lord called me to? What am I after? What am I doing? What do I value in terms of family and finances and vision in my life? And so, again, you don't have to have it all figured out, but do you have some direction of those things? Because that should form what you're kind of looking for. Now, it doesn't mean you want a carbon copy of yourself, right? But it's like, hey, I know these things, and I want to be with someone whose values complement the things that the Lord has put in my heart or has purposed me to do, right? And so that would be another thing. Do you know just a little bit, okay? Some people in this room have 0 things on their list. Some people in this room have 50 things. I want you to just have 5 core things on your list. That's it. For the beginning, okay, 5 things. In a relationship, you can start expanding it to more things than 5, but if we have more than 5, it becomes an interview, it becomes crazy, it becomes I'm analyzing every detail, and so 5 core, mainly character, value, qualities that you want to be looking for.
That's good, because I think we're in a town, specifically Franklin, where people have lots of big lists. They're not short, right? She's got to be this, and this. You're saying, hey, more than 5 is probably too picky, right? And we always hear this, like, be careful who you marry. And I fully support that statement. But be careful not to be too picky as well, right? Is that what you're saying?
For sure. I mean, we came up with a dating personality assessment a few months ago, and so there are people that have such very tightly wound lists. It's like, you know, and they are with a microscopic, you know, what is it called? A lens.
Magnifying glass.
Thank you, magnifying glass. Thank you. They are looking at every fine-tooth comb. You know, they're almost looking for any red flags to get them to walk away. And then there are people like me, before I got some healing, that was like, oh, he likes me? Oh my gosh, he's amazing. This guy is awesome. He goes to church. Oh my gosh, he bought me flowers. And then you're just like, there's no real substance there. It's just, you're just into the feels, and you just lost yourself because you're a hopeless romantic and you love the feeling of love and the idea of love, and you actually need some things on your list more than just he makes me feel good, right? And so, yeah, there's different kinds of dating personalities. Different people in this room are going to be the people with the tight list and people with no list, and that's why it's not one size fit all, but 5 things apply to people on either side of that spectrum.
Okay, that's super. And we can resource them with your dating personality type and all of that. So we'll get you that if you're curious who you are on the list and where you need to adjust.
It's also helpful to know who you're dating. If you're dating someone, like what personality are they?
Yeah, you all use the Enneagram, right? So even though apparently it's demonic,
yeah.
I'm an Enneagram 12. Yeah.
Amen.
Kait, you touched on something about the emotional aspect of relationship, and I wanted to ask about that because I think there is so much emotion that goes into singleness, talking, dating, relationship, engage. All of it is an emotional process because we're emotionally wired beings. And how do you allow yourself to be given to somebody and trust somebody and enter into something with like some level of faith and, okay, God, I surrender. This is the step I'm taking. And also guard yourself and protect yourself from heartbreak. Is that inevitable? How would you navigate that in this season?
Yeah, so we teach a mentorship program, and one of the things we teach, I won't go into all the details, is a RAM model, which was founded by Dr. John Van Epp, who's a Christian therapist. And basically this model just says, it's a pacing model, because I think the way to do dating and where Christians get it wrong is we go real fast sometimes. You know, it's like this person's single, and then 4 months later they're engaged, and you're like, what? Who are they? Who is this person? I don't even know this person. And I would say that is too fast. Anyway, so the point is you need to pace it through time. There are people in this room, it's going to be their fast pace. They want it, they see it, they want it. It's okay. The only exception for really fast pace, in my opinion, is if you were friends before, or if you have really solid, wise counsel on both sides speaking into your life that know both of you, that are wise, they're older, and there are exceptions. We're friends with Christian and Arden Bevere. They got engaged after 3 months, 4 months, is that right? Okay. And I always ask them, like, guys, that's wild. But, if you know the Bevere family, okay, I guess they had John and Lisa and Julie and Addison, and they had all these people, who met them and were in their lives and pouring into them. That's the exception. That's great. But for a normal Christian, we don't necessarily have John and Lisa Bevere speaking into our life, right? And so I would say you want to take time to get to know someone. And so the RAM model is, hey, I only know this person, truly know them, if I've spent time with them, a significant amount of time. And as you get to know them through time, then you can start seeing if you can trust them. A lot of times we think we know someone and we start throwing trust at them, but we don't truly really know them. And so you get to know them through time, and as you get to know them, then you start getting to trust them. And only as you start seeing that trust can you see if they're really reliable. That's the next one. Then I'm seeing, can I actually rely on them for things, through time? At the beginning, everyone's putting in their best foot forward. Mm-hmm. That guy's going to pursue you, hopefully, probably really well. Well, does that sustain when you maybe get a conflict? Does that sustain after 6 months, after he's used all of his best date ideas and he's like, I don't know what to do anymore? And for you as the girl, do you show up well if you have a need or something that makes you feel uncomfortable? And seeing if that person is reliable, if they are a person of their word, if they're a person that will show up in hard times, only happens after you get to know them. You start building trust with them, and then you can see if they're reliable. And then after that comes commitment. That only after those three levers are being increased should the commitment really be there. I'm talking obviously relationship and then engagement commitment. And some people just don't give it quite enough time to really get to know the person, to build that trust, to see if they're reliable, and then choose that commitment piece. And so obviously I would do a visual. I don't have one. I'm using my hands. But it really, those sliders need to go up one at a time. They have to go up like this, okay? So the no should be up here. Then you're building trust. Then you see if they're reliable. Then you build the commitment. Sometimes we're like, oh yeah, I know them super well. We don't. It's been 3 weeks. And I go to commitment. Well, wait. Have you built trust? Have you seen if they're reliable yet? Those sliders aren't even up yet because you can't build trust without time. Mm-hmm. It's impossible. And so that's what I would say to guard your heart. That's the model I would really recommend, is building trust and reliability through time with that person and then choosing that commitment.
That's so good. Yeah, without time and trials, you can't have trust. Yeah. And so that's a really good piece of it. You're stepping into the idea of, I'm going to spend every waking second with you. Mm-hmm. I should trust that person. I should see how they do react on a hard day. And that's really good advice. Okay, so the list, let's go back to the list. I've got the list, right? And in this town, on the list, I'm thinking, this is what this person looks like.
Okay, you got to talk about it.
Well, all right. It's just funny because I want you to just take a second and think about your type, okay? you can do the brunette, the blonde, the tall, athletic, like personality. You know what's funny about that? Like the second you start thinking about your type and you can picture them, it's all physical attributes. And your type had nothing to do with character. Your type had nothing to do with how they worship God. Your type had nothing to do with how long they've known God, how they serve their community. So I just want you to think about your type, and instead of just going straight to a physical thing, just imagine what are they like emotionally, what are they like spiritually, intellectually, personality. And for like the type, here's one, this will make it really easy. You ready? There's need to have, there's nice to have, there's fun to have, okay? And the need to have, the deal breakers, those are all character attributes.
Those are the 5 things. Those are the 5 things, yeah.
What?
Those are the 5 things that I was saying earlier. Those are the need to have.
Oh, yeah, that's the list. And that's all, I would make that all about character, not physical attraction. Now the list, if it's helpful, is need to have, nice to have, fun to have, like you think about that. Obviously, you know those buckets, and you've seen a lot of relationships, but a lot of us probably have way too many need to haves, okay, that are just not important to a healthy, successful relationship. Are they nice to have? Are they fun to have? Amazing. Kate had a lot of my need to haves. She had some of my nice to haves, and she almost had none of my fun to haves.
What were your fun to haves? Tell them.
I mean, like, that's not important, okay? You almost got me.
That's a wise response.
Yeah, but the point is, like, I love Kate, and we have an amazing relationship, and sure, like, our vacations and our hobbies don't really align, and that's okay, but that's the only thing having, like, those things in common makes easier in life is your vacations are easier to plan when you have, like, similar hobbies and interests. And for the rest of it, I actually think we're more challenged to really become a student of one another and love one another, and I'm not a Disney adult. Kate is, okay? I go to Disney because she loves Disney. And I try to have a great attitude and go to Disney with her, okay? And I'm telling you, that's been really good for me. And Kate, God bless her, she has a fantasy football team this year. Now,
Let's go.
Hey.
Let's go.
My friends
Go,
do
fellas.
not recognize me. They're like, what? You are watching football?
What's your record? What's your record?
I don't know what that means yet.
You're 3-2.
Oh, sorry, I'm bad.
3 and 2.
it's-
3 and
Kate has
2.
been riddled with injuries.
Yeah, I've
okay?
had so many injuries. It's
Dude, I'm
so
1 and 4 right now,
unfortunate.
so
Yeah, hey, it's not your
Neighbors,
fault. Okay?
man. He was my
Malik
guy.
Neighbors,
He's
yeah.
out.
Jaden
I
Daniels'
agree.
fault.
Yeah, I agree. So, but the whole point there is like the list, man. Like, man, make it about character. Make it about how they worship God. If you want to think about attraction, think about it like this. It's physical, okay? And then it's personality. That's like, think about it like this. Could you be stuck on an island with this person, okay? You'd be amazed at how many guys are just dating a girl who they think is hot, but they would not want to be stuck on an island with them,
Come
okay?
on.
Intellectual, that's like, can you talk about interesting things with them? Or is it like talking to a brick wall, okay? And then it's emotional. My favorite way about to describe this is, are they safe? Like, not only are you safe for them and you can listen to them and hear them, but is that mutual? Are they interested in you, or do they just dominate the emotional spotlight of the relationship? Okay, and then number 5 is spiritually. And this is the most important one. And I'll say it like this. What you feed your heart and what you value, well, that's what you're going to see as the most valuable in someone else. So if you value money and status, well, you're going to value someone the most who has money and status. If you value righteousness, like if you're obsessed with righteousness, if you're obsessed with God's obedience, if you're obsessed with holiness and God's anointing and calling, well, guess what? The first time you meet someone in real life of the opposite sex who's pursuing those things, well, they're going to jump off the page. They're going to strike you like lightning. They're going to be super attractive to you. And I'm quite frankly shocked at how little spiritual attractiveness we have sometimes to the people of opposite sex and how much more we make it about other stuff. Now, as a guy, I was the most guilty of this, okay? Physical attraction deeply mattered to me, but it mattered too much. And my favorite example of physical attraction in all the buckets of attraction is this. I would go out with a really attractive girl who I just, was so drawn to. I'd check her Instagram every day. Like, I just was obsessed with them. They were just so attractive to me. And after a month, I would burn bright, die young, fizzle out because emotionally and spiritually and all those other buckets, she was not that attractive. I didn't even want to be in the same room with her, okay? Like, that's like the selfishness and the maturity and all, it just really mattered. And I just was not attracted to her. And now the opposite happened all the time. There was a girl who maybe I wouldn't have thought was my wife the moment she walked in, but she was plenty attractive, like what I would call moderately attractive. And maybe I was distracted by something else. And we would be in a small group or at the circle for a year. And all of a sudden, I'd be looking at my friend and be like, oh my goodness, so-and-so is actually so attractive. Why? Because I got to see their character. I got to see their emotional maturity. I got to see how they just served others so selflessly. And that, man, that would have been an amazing foundation to date and pursue. And that's my favorite story of attraction, especially for guys. So just because that initial attraction isn't there, don't write them off immediately. Yeah. Build your attraction on something that's just much more healthy, which is, you know, all those other buckets. And then the last thing I'll just say, because we'll talk about physical attraction more. Actually, I'll save it because we're going to talk about physical attraction more. But hopefully that's helpful with the list and all the other buckets of attraction.
I also got to just say for the ladies, you got to know, height is always like this thing that comes up, especially on dating apps. The average height of a man in the United States is 5'9". Average.
Yeah. Hey, where are my guys? Where are my guys? Yeah, there we go.
The average height. Which means you want to know something? This is crazy. The amount of guys above 6 foot tall in the United States is 14%. The amount of guys above 6 foot tall that have a good income is 2%. Okay, so I just want you to think about this because this is a thing. People are on dating apps. The women really, really, really making their preferences really small. And I'm like, y'all, like these short kings don't even have a chance because you're filtered 6 foot tall. And like average height is 5'9", which
where
means...
my short kings at?
Short kings.
Hey, let's go. We love you guys.
Yes. I didn't know how tall JJ was before I met him,
I would argue that short kings have more character. You know, they've gone through a lot more in their life.
I'm pretty sure King David was like 5'6".
Yeah.
So
super short.
Must have been.
I'm just saying, you know, even the giants weren't as tall as we think. So that was gold. What you just did, that rant, that was gold.
Thank you.
So one thought I had, and you might know some data behind this, but I think if you enter into a relationship just based on how they look, you can have an issue with lust. Right? And we get questions about that. How do I fight that? And I think you answered it in a masterful way. But for people that are in a relationship, you are connected, you know, and I think even you two can talk about this a bit, but what do you do? What are good boundaries to protect yourself from lust and to keep yourself from going too far? And what are some things, you know, I think you mentioned making out before, but let's dive into this, and then this will be the last physical question. And we're going to go to Q&A from the audience.
That's good. Yeah, I'll say, I don't want to sit here and give you a rule book because I will give lots of practical advice, but I want your physical boundaries and what you decide to do to be deeply rooted in convictions from the Lord. And I don't want them to just be because Kait and JJ said so or because my pastor said so. Because I'm telling you, at 10 o'clock, when you accidentally find yourself making out, because Kait and JJ said so is not going to be enough, all right? So it needs to be deeply rooted from your heart and from you processing with the Lord and getting with the Lord and saying, God, what do you have for me? What do you desire for me? And, okay, this is where you need to be honest, and I'll speak to this. I had quite the physical past before JJ. I had to be real honest with myself about, hey, after 10 o'clock, I'm weird. Okay, just a different side of Kait comes out. All right, JJ sees this every night. Well, now it's like 9 because I'm much tired earlier. But it was 10 o'clock for me then, and I was weird, and that's when I had no inhibition. So I'd be like, 2 guys I was dating, I cannot hang out with you past 10 o'clock. I get strange. I can't do it. Actually, also, especially if my roommate is not home, you cannot be there, especially at night. And I was dating in my 30s, okay, telling guys this, all right? It's like, I was like, I have to do that because I know my tendencies. I know myself, and this is something that I had worked out with the Lord that I deeply wanted to honor in a new way, in a fresh way. And I believe that is possible. If you have a past, that the Lord wants to redeem that. And if I just want you to know also, if you have a past, like, saving yourself for a marriage in a new way and having sex on your wedding night is totally a different experience than anything you've experienced before. And God can and he will redeem that. And he did through JJ and I. And it was so incredible, you guys. And so I just want to say that to any person in this room that does have a sexual past, that there is so much redemption for you, and that the Lord, he does not look at you any differently. And he desires something so much greater that is just so beautiful and so exciting. And so I had to wrestle that out with the Lord, get rid of the shame I had from my past, really discover like what it is I truly desired when it came to physical intimacy and boundaries. Straight up, if the guys wouldn't bring it up, I would be like, I don't care. I don't want to even, on the first date, I wouldn't kiss guys. I'd tell them before that, actually, I wear red lipstick like I'm wearing tonight. And it would be like the anti-kiss lipstick, okay? Because what guy wants to kiss a red lip? Honestly, typically none. And so I do it purposely to be like, this is not happening, okay? But I would also say to the guy on the first date, hey, I don't know what you're, I don't want to assume anything, but I want to avoid an awkward moment, and I just want you to know I don't kiss in the beginning of dating at all. It's just, for me, that's something I value. I wait till I'm in a relationship. And if I didn't say that, I'm telling you, it was the most awkward thing. He'd walk me to the car, and I'd get so uncomfortable. I'd avoid eye contact and be like, well, I had a great night. See you later, bye. And I'd, get into my car, and he'd be like, what the heck just happened? She just, disappeared, because I just wanted to avoid that moment. So get clear, be honest, and sit with the Lord, and also just be honest with, hey, what do you know about yourself and your tendencies? And stop just saying to yourself, oh yeah, but I'll do better next time. No, if you know yourself, then you keep doing the same kind of thing, then maybe you need to take it a little more extreme. Maybe the guy or the girl you're dating is okay after 10 o'clock, and maybe you're not, okay? So be honest with that. That's what I would say.
So good. All right, so Brooklyn is going to get a microphone from someone, and if you have a question, we've got a few minutes here with JJ and Kait, and so I want you to, somebody's got to have courage tonight and ask the question. There's something that, Daniel, you got two of them.
Daniel.
Okay, yeah. Okay, we'll go here first.
Okay, let's get into it.
Okay, I got a few, but we can just do one for now. Okay, let's talk masculine versus feminine roles. How would you define it? And at what point does it become a red flag or healthy?
Okay.
We did tell you to ask a question.
Go get him, quarterback.
Hitting us hard.
Well, thank you for the softball question. So nice, Daniel. So easy. Man, okay, so I would just say, there's this huge, just toxic cesspool of, cultural conversation when we talk about masculinity and femininity. And the easiest way to just get out of that is just go straight to the Bible, okay? Whatever ideas you have of what it should look like, just like Men in Black, where they have, the little... Do you guys watch Men in Black?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Millennials did.
All right, just forget everything you've ever learned, and let's start the Bible, and let's go to Genesis, okay? And let's look at how God created us. And what it really means is we're in a culture right now that is trying to flatten gender and is trying to flatten roles, okay? And I even wanted to do this too. It mattered deeply to God. And so when we flatten gender and we flatten the roles and we flatten God's idea, what we're really saying is, yeah, God, you had a design, and it wasn't that good. I think it really de-glorifies God to de-glorify our differences as men and women. Mm-hmm. So when we heighten the differences and we really emphasize them, we really emphasize God's glory and his design. And that's amazing. So I used to be a little scared of these conversations, but when we start God's word, it's just so unbelievably clear. When we really look at gender and we look at the differences of how we're made, we are glorifying and looking at what God did in Genesis and say, hey, you knew what you were doing, and you did an amazing job, by the way. So we're not scared to really emphasize the differences anymore between masculinity and femininity. Now, what you really need to think about is a Venn diagram, okay? We're very, very similar. I mean, you literally, woman came from man. We are of the same flesh, and then there's these side edges of where God is just amazingly, supernaturally, in every single way, made Kait naturally better at things than me. And it's the same thing for me. So he's given me a natural strength Okay, so masculinity, let me make it really, really simple for you. Men, you have been giving a natural strength, I think physically, maybe emotionally, spiritually, and you're giving that strength for one reason. It's to literally serve other people. Everyone should be flourishing around you because you are using every ounce of that strength to serve every single person around you. So that's masculinity 101 in a nutshell. How would you define femininity 101 in a nutshell?
I would just say, I will say this because I think it's, we're in a culture where women, and especially if you work, we're trained to be more like guys, okay? It's like, hey, be bold, do the thing, speak out, do this. And, you know, you have to kind of like act like a guy in ways in the workplace to like get ahead and to be really well respected. When it comes to dating, that doesn't really work, okay? It doesn't work when you want to really pair that with what JJ's talking, the biblical masculine. And so I would say in dating for my ladies, I would say lean back, okay? Don't ask a guy out. I'm very much about that. You can show him interest, let him actually ask you on a date. And on the date, this also means like you may be an amazing planner. You may have your life together. You're not planning the dates. You're letting him plan the dates. Okay, this may sound very traditional, old school, but I'm telling you, this is what most women actually desire. And I believe that the man was actually created to go first in this area. And so lean back, even though you can do it, lean back. Now, he doesn't know you're interested. I'm sure there'll be a question on that. Please make sure he knows that you are interested. Guys are clueless these days. There's a lot I can say on that. Ask a question. I'll give you more tips. But let him ask you out. Let him plan the date. Let him ideally pay for the date. Doesn't have to be expensive. You could do $10 dates, guys. But I'm let him do that. And the other thing is you can let him know how you feel. A lot of times we don't really tell him how we feel. So if he took you on an amazing date, it's okay to text him after the date and be like, hey, I just wanted to let you know that I thank you so much for that date. I felt really seen by you. I really appreciate you. I'd be really open to doing something like that again. Smiley face. Okay? That's it. You're leaving it in his ball.
They can
you
send
just
that?
pass the ball over. Here's my favorite piece of advice. Make a man feel like a winner, and he will be a winner. Okay?
Come on.
Make him feel like a winner, he will
That's
be a
a
winner.
bar.
All the guys in here are like,
So
yeah.
if he knows he won on that first date, you liked it. After the first date, if he planned it, he often has no idea if you liked it or not. You know, like you may be smiling, but at the end he's still questioning, like, did she even like that? I don't really know. So send him that text, make him feel like a winner. And now he's like, awesome. Well, this is great. Now I know that she's interested. She liked it. I'm going to take her on another date. Make a man feel like a winner. He will be a winner, but don't plan the dates and don't like move the ball forward. He should be making that happen, but you can, lift him up as a man and make him feel awesome for the job and effort that he is putting in.
And that was so good. I would just clarify for the guys, as far as the receiving and initiation, the masculinity, like that nature of God, is all about action. That is like, if you read the Bible through the lens of like that masculine feminine nature, God is always moving towards man. God is always initiating. He's always first and going first and laying down his life, sacrificing, taking the risks. And what that looks like in dating is you are taking the first move, you're getting to initiate. That's a great honor. And yes, I know it's scary, I know it's risky, but do you want to do it or do you want her to do it? And that's like the beginning of your relationship. Do you want her to go first or do you want to go first? And so as a guy, getting to ask out that girl and shoot your shot and maybe get rejected or maybe get accepted, right? That's an honor that you get to take. You get to take the honor and the initiation of DTR, okay? You get to take the honor of asking, hey, do you want to be boyfriend? And so that is like literally for the rest of your life, the recipe. You get to initiate.
So
and when
good.
you get into marriage, what that looks like is you get to go first in serving. You get to go first in dying. You get to go first in saying the hardest words, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
You get to go first in saying, do you forgive me? You get to go first in all of those ways, and that starts now.
That's so good. I hope you, man, if you're not married, I know you probably don't understand how rich that is, but my wife's standing in the back of the room, and you guys know her, but she was
nodding the whole time.
Yeah, because she knows she's made me feel like a winner for 12 years, and that's why I'm a winner, right? Is because of her believing in me and you got to have that best friend to believe in you and to just. What I love too about what you said is this: I think the fear for men is when you step out to lead, it feels lonely and it feels scary, right? How do I know how to lead? And I'm just telling you, when you find the right person, she fills up your sails. I mean, you can lead because she's helping and she's literally empowering, encouraging you to lead. But I think we've got time for maybe one or two more questions. Who's up? So well said. I know. We're going to wrap it at some point.
Hi. So I'm wondering, I guess I don't know where it would fall in the like dating/relationship stage, but when it comes to like sharing your testimony, trauma, like baggage, things like that, where do you say like that should fall? Just because we want to watch like our hearts and like just having those like good boundaries and walls, but also being open and making sure we discuss those things.
Yeah, I think I will say, we sometimes want a trauma bond, and it's very attractive. It feels very good. You feel so emotionally attached, but going back to the RAM model, it's where you think you know the person a lot more than you do when you share the depths of your testimony on a first date or a second date, or the depths of your trauma. And so I'll give you just like my personal example. When JJ and I started dating, I had just released a book. It was about rejection called Thank You for Rejecting Me. And a lot of my stories of rejection and trauma and even abuse were in that book. And he heard me, the first night he met me, he heard me talk about my testimony, my story, and some of those things. Now, that's a lot. He actually, without me sharing it all personally with him, learned about my testimony, my trauma, all of that, right? So that was wild. I wouldn't recommend that on a first date, but here's what's different is that I didn't share I don't share the depths in my book, at least. I don't share the depths of what happened in that abusive relationship or every relationship or every trauma, because there's things that happen in my family that I don't share publicly because some of them are still active. And so there's still other layers that I would classify as level 8, 9, and 10, like on a scale as deep, deep, deep things that I don't share with somebody until I've known them for quite a while. And so for JJ, I did not share the depths of that abusive relationship and all that happened and really what went down till much later in our relationship. Now, he knew I was in an abusive relationship. He knew some top line details, which is okay for him to know, but he didn't know the depth or the full story and the full everything until much later when trust was built. And so I would say, hey, top line testimony, like snippets, okay. The depths, the details, the ins and outs, which you guys know the difference, I hope, is that's like real vulnerable emotional intimacy. I might be sobbing telling you some parts of this story, and that's not happening in those first few dates. So top line things, hey, JJ says it like this: what can I share in a co-ed small group? In a co-ed small group, if I'm willing to share some top line testimony things or some top line very surface level trauma things, I might share that in my in the first few stages, in the stage of dating that I was talking about earlier. But the depths, I'm probably not sharing that in a co-ed small group. At least not unless we've been going hard at it for like a few years, right? This is like a really deep, intimate small group. And so what I would share in the beginning is what you feel comfortable at like a co-ed small group sharing.
That's so good. Yeah, and I think this is another, you said something earlier, which is be led by the Holy Spirit, right? This is another moment where when you're gonna talk to someone and you have something that you've been through, just let the Holy Spirit lead you before you do that. Don't just throw it out there. One more question, or are we done? One more. His hand up went really fast, so go to him. That was the fastest hand I've seen all night.
It was fast because I think it's a very important question. First, thank you guys. Is this loud enough? Thank you guys. Very high quality information. I'm going to ask the awkward question that I would say many people in the room have struggled with the answer to. Y'all talked about it a little bit. I would say not quite enough, so I'm going to ask it. A clear, definable, and biblical answer to intimacy before marriage, particularly third base. What is that? Because I know, the flesh is strong. We all struggle with it. How do we clearly define that in our lives?
I actually don't even know what third base is. I didn't learn the bases, to clarify.
I did not mean third base. I meant home plate.
Okay,
Sex before
all right,
marriage.
Okay,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I'm assuming that's sex, but yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, let's talk about intimacy.
He played
okay.
football.
He just
Yeah.
sounded
Yeah.
like
I'm
he
a
was
football
homeschooled over
guy.
here now.
Touchdown?
Touchdown.
Okay.
He's talking about touchdowns. Yeah.
Touchdown? Okay. All right, so I'll make it really easy. Yeah, red zone. Here we go. All right, red zone, baby. We're in the red zone. Okay. So this is really easy, okay? Intimacy is very clearly and quickly defined as physical, okay? But it's so much more than that, all right? It's physical, it's spiritual, emotional, okay? So when we think about like purity and boundaries and honoring those and stewarding those well, it's three, okay? It's physical, spiritual, emotional, and they're all three wonderful and amazing and reserved, right, for marriage. So the question was like how to basically handle those well in singleness and dating. Is that what you're asking? Yeah? I would say this. Kate alluded to it earlier. If your conviction here is not rock solid with God, like it just doesn't matter what I say. It really doesn't. And if you live your life looking at the Bible saying, okay, what's it saying to do? Okay, well, let me look at it and be like, well, how can I get as close to the line as possible? How can I get as close to sin as possible? Then I'm so sorry, but I really wonder about the sincerity of your faith.
That's good.
I really just don't know how you stand with God at the end of the day. Because it's so clear when we read God's word, if you love God, then this idea of glorifying him is very real. It's super real and actually brings you great joy. And so when you take that and you apply it to dating, well, your first question is this: how can I glorify God and how can I love and glorify her? And if you're crossing physical boundaries, emotional boundaries, spiritual boundaries, what I would just quite frankly tell you is that you really don't love her. And you really don't love God. Like, you love yourself more. Like, you are trying to gratify and fulfill yourself way more than you are trying to glorify God and love her. Like, if you really, really love them, then you'll love her imago Dei, like she's made in God's image, and you'll respect that and you'll steward that well. And I would just say, like, until you really learn how to glorify God with your sexual nature and steward that, your emotional and spiritual nature, I would say, like, dating is like playing with fire for sure. And you're going to do way more damage in God's, church and body than you are going to help. And so one of the golden rules of dating, to make it really easy and make it really, really helpful for you guys and simple when it comes to these rules of physical, emotional, spiritual intimacy, because it gets complicated fast, is this: how can I leave them better than I found them? Okay, so does making out with them and being emotionally ambiguous and getting to know their heart and playing with them and toy with them and spiritually crossing all that, does that really leave them better than I found them if we break up? And so if I call the person that you just dated, for 3 months and I ask, hey, would you recommend that, this guy dates, so-and-so, would they recommend you? Like, are you an ambassador of God, in the body? So I really think, I'll just close with this. If you allow it, dating can be one of the most healthy, amazing, glorifying things in the body. And if you don't, then it could be one of the most, like, you guys know this better than anyone, it can be one of the most destructive, disappointing, sad, just playground of the devil to just establish absolute chaos. Absolute chaos. So it's not just sexually, but it's emotionally, physically, right, and sexually as well. So that's my best encouragement. There's a lot of great, amazing things I'm sure you guys could. Do you want to say something, Amber?
Yeah, I just had something real quick to add. Is a question that Kate and I have asked several points throughout our relationship as it's progressed into almost marriage, is how far are we willing to go to pursue intimacy with the Father first? And if we are more concerned about being close with each other, then we need to check ourselves. And if something is causing you to stumble and fall and create distance with the Father, get rid of it. It doesn't matter. You don't need to kiss. You don't need to make out. You don't need to hang out past 10 p.m. If your phone is causing you to stumble and look at things that you shouldn't be looking at, if you have social media and it's causing you you say, oh, I need to keep in touch with my high school friends. It's my business. Get rid of it. you can get rid of it. How far are you willing to go to pursue intimacy with the Father? So those questions, there are specific things that you can be led by the Spirit, like Eric's talked about, like we've said. But how far are you willing to go to pursue intimacy with the Father? And if you get to spend the rest of your life with somebody, it doesn't matter. You're going to get the rest of your life to do all of those fun things.
So good.
And if you don't spend the rest of your life with them, then praise God you didn't do those things that you shouldn't do anyways with somebody that isn't your own. Until you become one on the altar, that person's not your own. That's a son and a daughter of God. You are not each other's. So how far are you willing to pursue intimacy with God before intimacy with each other? And that continues into marriage. Seek first the kingdom. We seek each other second. Kate will never be the person I seek first.
That's
I
right.
have to pursue intimacy with the Father every single day of my life to have this relationship be fruitful. So you need to start now pursuing intimacy with him before you pursue intimacy with anything or anyone else.
So good. Come on, girl.
Yeah, that's going to be my wife, y'all. Come on.
Hey.
Let's go. Let's go.
Hey, that girl can
Praise
preach.
God.
Wow.
So
I think
Kate has led it phenomenally well in that department, and so that's why I'm so passionate about it, because I know men can do it well.
come on.
And I think one quick thing too, just I said it earlier, but obedience.
Yeah.
There's been moments where we've just very honestly been like, that wasn't right. We felt it in our hearts, and we shifted.
Yeah.
And God honors obedience. He's not after perfection; He's after obedience, and it can
So
be
good.
well in our generation.
So good. All right, so let's fall in love with Jesus first, and then you can fall in love with someone else. Thank you guys so much, JJ, Kate. Man, I hope this blessed you guys. This is kind of a new thing for us, but we're so thankful you came, and seriously honor you for what God's doing through you, and how, I pray that when we get done with whatever we're doing for and with Gen Z and with this next generation, that they just say, hey, these guys served us. And I'm just so thankful for you, Circle. Thanks for being here tonight. I'm going to pray, and then we're going to hang. That's what we do, so there's probably pizza left over. You go eat it. If there's a whole box, take it home. We don't care. But let me pray for you. Lord, thank you for tonight. Thank you.